Hello and welcome to the After Show Afterthoughts, where we had an hour of talking to Miss Sylvia Jones and Mr. William Craig. And I'm telling you, and they read the stories. We discussed some things. We're going to continue a little bit now. It was absolutely fabulous. We had a little feedback. For those of you who hung in there, thank you very much. But if you didn't hang in and you know that we're going to do this video, we'll recap a little bit of it for you, what those stories were about, what we talked about a little bit. It was a fascinating, fascinating conversation. Thank you very much, Ms. Sylvia. Thank you very much, Mr. Bill. I am so proud to know both of you and to be able to expose people who had not heard your work to it. But the first one, let's talk about your work first, Ms. Sylvia, because you were the first one to go in. And it was, what would you say to America? And you talked about so many different things. You talked about the progress of voting, and you talked about what is on the Statue of Liberty, and you talked about the Black National Anthem. And then ultimately, I just wanted to ask you, and I asked you what you had to say to the younger generation about the gap that we have, that you spoke about on your piece. Talk about, if you could summarize a little bit what it was, and then talk about the gap, if you could, please.
I think what I was saying that things have stayed the same in a certain sense, have stayed the same as for us in a certain sense, and that our songs of hope in the Negro National Anthem are as relevant today as they were back after, after Reconstruction. That it's important that we march on, that we still stay involved, that although people think things have changed, they had not really changed. They did not really change in large steps. It changed in small steps. Because our lives certainly are different from what they were 90 years ago when I was born.
Yes.
There is a change.
Yes.
We do have the legal system that has helped us on our way. People were able to, with education and so forth, were still able to move on. And I think that our country had offered people from everywhere else here freedom. And people have been able to come here to our country and have a different kind of freedom that we have not had as Black people, as people of color. And when do we live up to this democracy that we say, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that all men are created equal?
Yeah. When does that get lived up to? And of course, Mr. Bill, you pulled out the word hope and expounded upon it about Pandora box before we got to your piece. So can you just expound upon that a little bit more? And then you talked about what should happen in the home for you, these young people. Just remind us a little bit about what you said then.
One of your listeners brought forth a statement about his idea of what hope was and why it is, etc. I will say this: that was a very good way of putting it. But hope is not a word, is not maybe I'll use the word. It's not a sentence. It's a word. It's meant to be a word of action, not something that you sit with. It is critical that we start understanding that, because truthfully, it is part of I'll say theological base in terms of being very real to us. So, we could say hope all we want to say, but if we do nothing with it, it's just another word like car or book or whatever. Yeah, a book you have to read for it to be of value. Hope you have to do something for it to make sense. I find it it's like, what do they say? Love is important, but love is not love until you give it away. You could sit with love all you want, but if you don't show or activate the love, then it's pointless. People say they love me as they walk away, and I'm hungry and say, "Well, why didn't you feed me?"
Mhm.
So it's we use words. We have to start understanding that words we use speak to what's going on. If we start changing our words, we can start changing our actions. And you spoke about, I mentioned home. Sadly, we in our culture, we find children raising children. How can a child themselves bring forth the knowledge that is necessary to fill the young child with the needed hope and action, the education to think, and whatever else that is necessary for that child to be a part, an active, productive, growing part of this life that we live in. But social systems have us have mom, have dad working 24, 12, 7, 8 hours a day out of the home. And we leave our most precious item to fend for themselves. And sometimes that's just too bad, especially when the media is ahead all the time, trying to pull them in 10, 12, 20 different ways. So somehow, some way, we've got to reevaluate what's of value. We have to reevaluate what is of value to us and put that primary instead of the movies, the clothes, the cars, whatever that we choose to do, because our children are our assets, and to deny that, we deny our future.
The village. I'm sorry. The village.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the village is dead. You know, the village used to help raise the children.
I know. I know.
You were raised in a village. I was raised in a village.
Yeah.
I was raised in the village.
Ah,
all those generations,
exactly.
a long time ago. You couldn't do anything unless somebody told your mother. I was raised in the village.
Yes.
So, but see, the village is gone, but that doesn't mean that we are now, we stop doing what the village did. Somehow we got to bring that forward again.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
They have decimated the family circle per se, and by doing that, we have separated ourselves from each other. And we can't do that anymore. There are words that are, that they throw around, gentrification.
Oh,
Please, don't even get me started there.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean as far as that is concerned. Yeah.
So sadly, we need to start reintroducing our values to each other, to our children.
and that's our history.
And Sylvia, you've taught me things. You're my senior. So
Right.
I look to you for information, and people will look to me for information. So we each have a responsibility. We can get to be 90, 95, but you sit in the chair and do nothing. Don't bother me. Get out my way. But you have the information. I have the information. Lynnie has the information, and we bring it forward to each other, because we only have about 15, 20 seconds when you're talking to a young child, a young person, before they lose interest. You don't bring anything forward. They'll say, yes, and walk on.
Yes. I love the concept that you don't want hope to be a noun, you want it to be a verb.
Exactly.
That it's an action piece.
Absolutely.
That it is not like the noun that is a car, that is, that stationary thing. I think that it is a piece of activism, and I think if we refer to it as that, and not some ethereal thing that, if you just hope it'll happen, again, it's like the story. It's God help those who help themselves. It's going to happen, but you got to make it happen.
Gotta make it
It's
happen.
giving you the avenue by which that action can happen, but you still have to do some work. It's not a miraculous kind of thing. Well, let me just sit here and now everything's going to come to me in my living room. That's how it's going to come. No, you got to go out and get it,
Yes,
and you've got to achieve it, and that's a very important thing.
absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
your piece talked about the taking of lives in two different ways.
Yes,
So, one was an experience as a young child that you didn't see but was told about because your grandmother wouldn't let you go that day. So
yeah,
you were, I think, protected against seeing that particular taking of life. However, as a decades later, as an adult, you saw in front of you the taking of life. You know, yes, there is. Thank you. There's a value in hope as both a verb and a noun. Thank you, Jeffrey. Um, it is absolutely one of the wonderful things about recall is how you connect things decades later.
decades later, yeah.
Decades later. Expound upon that. I just asked you, I said, one you witnessed, one you kind of created a scenario that what would have happened had you been there, and what did you think about that loss of life?
I played with young Singleton as a child, as a young person, and he was an energy. We'd laugh, we joke, we fight, we play ball, we do whatever we did. So there was an emptiness felt in that particular when that incident happened. And as a young person, as anything, maybe the question came into my mind: where do they go?
Mm,
They go
mhm, yes.
as a older individual, an adult, walking down the street towards a friend's home, in Crown Heights. Uh, uh, a man is shot in front of me by another individual. Now, there is no question about wrong or right at this point. But he's shot in front of me. And the question in my mind is, first of all, there's the why. I didn't have that information. There's this man that I know, not so much personally, but who I know in living as someone who carries a gun and who can be supposedly protective to me and or a danger. The history behind that is that he has been a danger most of the time. So I need to watch him as much as somebody else around the corner. And again, the thought was about that young guy on the pavement bleeding was, what happened to him? Where did he go? How could this be? One of the issues to me was watching the blood mix with the rain move away from his body. That blew my mind. I love to camp. I've been out camping in the woods. Storms come and you know what to do. But these are grand things. I believe that I believe there's a greater force about us, of course, and all things have significance, whether or not we understand it or not. It is there. It behooves us to educate our mind, our body, and our spirit
Yes.
all the time. so that we can pick up on things which we can then share,
Yes,
because it's about the sharing.
it is. It
Um,
is. Yes.
you want to speak about art? Speak about art. Speak about what I saw in terms of the rain pelting, in terms of the blood mixing with it doing swirls and different things. What is that? Why is that? Anyway, there are many thoughts, Lynnie, that when we see things generate questions. The worst thing in the world, which you just brought up a little earlier, is to be numb to it and to say, it always happens, just walk away. No, it doesn't always happen. That's where we become more than entities of power and consciousness. We become victims, first of all, to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. The concept that it happens so often that we would be insensitive to it or desensitized from it. I think you both have proved that wrong.
Yeah.
That every life does count. That when I hear about another killing, it pierces me as much as it pierced me from the first time I heard about it. That I wanted to stop.
Yeah.
As much as I wanted it to stop the first time, if not more. And we are not insensitive to it. We have not desensitized ourselves. There are people who think that we, I woke up and there it is again. No, for me, and I can only speak for it is a significant horror to hear about it every single time. And then, Ms. Sylvia, you were the one who talked about the dilution of diluting the laws and it seems that the things that were initially created for us as a people, and now I'm talking about people of color, that the situations have been diluted and watered down.
Exactly.
That our voting laws have been taken away. And Bill, you were talking about how they've created situations so that you have to drive so far away to make it so difficult for us to achieve what people do and walk around the corner and do and other places. That we have to be aware of all of that, that we don't have the luxury to be desensitized. We don't have the luxury to relax. We don't have the luxury to say, oh, I'm tired of explaining. We don't have that luxury. We have not reached to that point.
Yeah. I was present in California when Rodney King was killed.
Oh, so was I. I was living there then. Yes.
That to me was an extraordinary event. Not so much, and then this might sound horrific, not so much because he was killed, but it's been going on all the time at this point. But the fact that we did something, unfortunately we burned down our own houses, but we did something. And
he didn't die then.
No, not killed. I'm sorry. The brutality,
but he was beaten very badly. Beaten.
That's right. Was visible at that point. And we did something. And yes, I don't believe in burning down my own house. I would have seen it. But what the system did was they closed the neighborhood down. You couldn't get out and burn the other person's home. No. You could only burn your home. So yeah, they didn't care. Now, you just said something which is really critical to me in terms of we cannot allow that to happen to us in terms of being desensitized. We must not, we cannot. And I don't know, I'll ask, what mechanisms do we have to refortify our spirituality, our love? Because we've seen things break down, whether it's love, whether our belief system, whether our caring. So we need to find a way to do that. And, we could extrapolate with that across the board in terms of marriages, in terms of interpersonal relationships, in terms of everything. We need to keep fortifying. We need to support each other. And you talk about the creative writing. I think the creative writing allows us to bring our feelings forward in a safe, open environment. And we have that. And Dr. Rock's Edith's workshop, allows us to do that. I don't have Sylvia's experience. I'm listening. I don't have Ernie's experience, who was another attending, and she's older than Sylvia. So these people are bringing things forward, and I'm learning from them. And then there are people who are younger than me who are learning as well. So it is a continuous, or put it this way, it is a continuum. We got to
Mhm.
look at it as a continuum.
I think if nothing else, I think that's the most
I'm
important
still
thing,
on.
that, we have to really be able to have faith that we can't give up, that
That's right.
we cannot, that it is,
Gotta continue.
it is, it, and so it goes. And Ben Hur, as they say, and so it goes, it continues,
Mm-hmm.
it continues. You know, we have to know that that's what it is. And that is, for me, the hope of the future, that
Yeah,
it continues, and that
exactly.
we concentrate, we do the opposite of diluting, is we make everything concentrated,
Mhm.
and we make it purposeful,
Mhm.
so that we make it a better and safe place for the younger generations that are coming.
This is
That's where I am in my life. That's the
show,
legacy I'd
Living
like
Hope.
to be.
Lynnie, your show is Living Hope.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you.
Living
Thank
Hope.
you.
You are bringing forth ideas that not should, but will inspire people to think out of the box,
I
because
hope so.
we're in this box in our bodies, and we need to start thinking past it.
Yeah. I hope so. It's not anything that I thought I had. When you're younger, you have a mission, you know what you want to do. This was
Mhm.
not one of the things. It wasn't, but it becomes, it's a calling.
Mhm.
I think people have to know, just like your writing is a calling. It's a calling, that you have to answer to.
Lynnie, when you
And
get
you
older,
do.
you come to the seniors workshop.
Say it
When you
again.
when you get older, you could come and join us in the seniors workshop. Right now, you're too young. Okay.
I I don't know about all that, but okay, I'll take that. I'll take it.
I'm trying to see what
um,
Jeffrey's written.
Jeffrey, I will read what Jeffrey said. I think
Okay.
Jeffrey's put another. He said, if you don't have an awareness of the concept of noun hope as possibility or option, one can be lost to the momentary power of despair.
Mm.
Only then can I activate that concept into the action which allows me to overcome those obstacles that might otherwise defeat me. Hope is indeed active and self-fulfilling.
That's fantastic.
Yes, Jeffrey, thank you.
Write
Thank you
that down,
very much,
Jeffrey. That's
Jeffrey.
good. Yeah.
Jeffrey Venus Thompson. Yes. Well, I will say thank you both to you all. This has been a wonderful, wonderful treat for me. And the season is almost ending, and it is a wonderful way for it to end. Be able to have you in my roster on my 100th episode. This being the 100th episode in the 100th video that is on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. So thank you
Good.
so very much for for just bringing your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, the respect that I want to give to you, the tribute to you that isn't given enough, I don't believe, in our society.
Thank
I
you.
give it to you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for thinking I'm too young to be in that senior class. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're
Ladies
welcome.
and gentlemen, I want you all to stay on for a second, but I'm going to say goodnight now. And thank you all for listening. I hope you have heard this from the beginning. If you haven't, tune in, go all the way back to the beginning and listen to all these wonderful, really, really gems of knowledge that have been given to us today by our ancestors, who we are sitting here with, being able to talk to. And that's the gift. That's the gift, that we can share these moments with them. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the After Show Afterthoughts. And I'll see you next time, I'll see you on the radio. Have a safe and blessed week, and we will see you soon. Thank you.